So just so everybody knows what we decided to do today, because we knew this was a holiday and it's the big quarterly planning day, we are going to make sure that we create an extra special recording of this one that we'll have on the site for everybody to refer to in case
For
you weren't
sure.
able to be here live. So that's the
Yeah.
plan.
And I do think a lot of people are going to see this recording and use it over the next couple of weeks. Um, Nothing that we say today can be done in a minute. This is an exercise that takes time to build up to and to fully grasp and understand. But it's an exercise that's going to help you for the rest of your life once you know how to implement and track specific things so you can make your decisions based on real data in your own performance. So today is all about quarterly review. And we're going to go back to our regular programming after, but June 30th is today. Tomorrow, a new month starts and a new quarter starts. So we need to know what the second quarter of the year, the first half of the year has resulted into. What have you been doing that's working? What have you been doing that hasn't been working? And that's exactly where we're going to go today.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we jump into that, I'm going to quickly just remind everybody where they find these recordings so that if you're new to the group, you know what sort of what the game is and where all the goodies are in our community. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to show you guys a couple different things. So before we jump into the tracker, when you're at the site, you're going to be able to come in 2 different ways, but a lot of people will log in here and you see this button says community. You pop in there and it's going to load your community access to everything. So here's what I'll show you just very quickly. I want to make sure you guys all know what's included too. So you always have a welcome tab. This is just a very simple explanation of what's included and a little welcome to remind you of where to find things and what we're up to. There's also a section on what's coming soon. So you can see anything that's new, what's coming soon. We keep this updated. We'll also email you, frankly, when there's new stuff too. So you don't have to always jump in there. Weekly accountability call. This is really just to give you some information about access and about the Monday call itself. So here you go. It's a little bit more information about what we're doing. We explain things like if the accountability call falls on a holiday. So if today was the holiday, for instance, we would push it to the next Tuesday. Just want to make sure that you know stuff like that. But honestly, the most important thing is this. Every week you're going to get a link to the live session in your email. So you're always going to get something 1 or at least 2 times a week. I think we do it 3 times actually, to make sure that you have the right link to jump in every Monday morning. It's always at 8 a.m. Pacific or 11 a.m. Eastern or wherever you fall in there. And every single week, we're going to go through some form of microtactic, which means that it's something to do with growth in your business. We'll be talking about that in depth. And what's really awesome is not only do you get whatever it is that, we're doing the day that you join, but you also have access to 2 really important things. You have a weekly featured resource section. You've got a replays and resources section, and you have our microtactics library. These 3 are also included. Now, let me show you what's here. This is the easiest way to find what we talked about in any given week. So for instance, last week's accountability call, if you jump in here, you'll see it'll launch the video. So you can rewatch the whole session. And keep in mind, they're about 30 minutes, so they don't take a whole lot of time. And then you get also whatever the resources were that week are very easily available here. So click the download button and you'll see it'll go to the download page. And this was the resource for that day. All you have to do is download it and it's all yours. So we did door knocking like a closer and a whole kit with Simeon's entire strategy, which was very awesome, by the way. So we hope you don't miss that one. But that's how you can get access to everything by the date. And then the other 2 ways you can find things very quickly, you can either go to the weekly featured resource. So you can see every single date is listed here. This is just the resources. So now it's a little bit redundant, but at least we know that for sure that you won't miss stuff. Here's the tracker and here's the door knocking kit. And then the last thing I'm going to show you very quickly, also included, is the microtactics library. So the microtactics library, this is not just what we do in our Mondays. This is all of our microtactics. So this is a little mini skills library. And what this does is it gives you access to everything we talk about. It also gives you lots of other goodies, like for instance, 50 real estate niche ideas. We did not go over that yet, but this will give you other wonderful tools. Feel free to go in and use any of this. And there's tons of it. There's some really great stuff in here. And I'd say the last of it is just a reminder, you also get 25% off anything else in our catalog. So if you click on here, you'll get information on how to get that. And it's just a code you need to use. It's nothing complicated. And that's about it. And then VIP support. This will take you to how to reach us if you need anything. We've set up a special VIP support for anybody in our coaching programs, so you can jump in there too. And that's pretty much it. If you want to send us messages or post in the community, you can do that too. So, Simeon, that was just a quick walkthrough, but did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think that was a great walkthrough of everybody understanding the all access community.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm going to stop share so that you can jump into the first part of I'm so excited about this. This is easily one of my favorite sessions. So, being able to talk to everybody about KPIs and how you can use them to plan and pivot is super exciting. You said today we're going to understand the 8 KPIs that control their real estate business. We're going to talk about how to track them weekly, summarize them quarterly, how to analyze trends, find performance gaps, and pivot strategies. And then the last thing is set clear 90-day targets backed by real data, not feelings. So remember,
and that's just it. Like, so I'm doing exactly what we're talking about today. I'm doing for my own team. We are implementing massive changes because our market has changed so much, where we're pivoting an entire business strategy as of July 2nd. July 1st is the holiday in Canada, just like July 4th is in the States. But we're literally implementing an entire new business strategy in our team effective this week. So this is not only timely for me, this is something that I've been doing for a very long time. This specific tracking and the decisions we're making as a result of it are always in sync with the market and in sync with our purpose and goals. So it couldn't be more important to understand it. And of course, more so to implement it. So let's get started.
All right, awesome. And just in case somebody is actually not clear on what a KPI is, KPI means key performance indicator. And think of it like a specific trackable number that tells you if your business is moving forward, and it gives you true evidence as opposed to emotion, so that you can not just be feeling like you're busy, but you'll actually know if you're actually producing. So that's what we want to do. So maybe, if you don't mind, Simeon, the why KPIs matter might be a good place to start.
Well, what gets tracked gets achieved. That's the bottom line. Your goals and everything that you set target to, unless you can measure it, unless you can see it and actually feed it, it's not going to grow. So I heard something over the weekend. I don't know if it was a show I was watching, but whatever you feed grows. It was something about emotions. It was about fear and like people who are in negative paths, etc. It's when you feed that thing that it grows, and it's the same thing for these metrics precisely. The minute you start tracking, the minute you start looking at them, right away they start growing and they start performing and moving. So this is what we need to do. KPIs, key performance indexes, are important because they tell you the true story. You make calls, you connect with people. How many calls did you make? How many people did you connect with? All the different things that come from that. And we'll get to the 8 KPIs. But this is why KPIs matter, is because they give you a complete understanding of how you're doing on what you want to be focused in on. You are going to set your own KPIs. So that's why that matters, and that's what that's all about.
I'm wondering, maybe we've had a bunch of people send us in some questions, and we'll go to that in a minute. I just wanted to make sure. I forgot to mention that. We will be doing that too. But I'm really interested also in hearing if anybody on the call today has any feedback that has actually already been using the tracker for the last quarter, or some people have been with us longer. You know, I'm really curious if you've got any good feedback, frustrations, things that it's helped you with, or maybe it's things that have been illuminated. So if you could drop something into the webinar chat, I'm going to keep an eye on those for when they pop up, Simeon, and I'll let you know when we see those. And then
Sure.
when you go through your 8 KPIs, we'll talk also about some of the questions that people had sent us in advance. Sound
Great.
good?
Yeah,
All right,
you got
cool. All right, Pop, awesome. So you were going to go through the 8 core KPIs, I believe, next, and then at the end of that, we'll go through the tracker and show everybody how to use the tracker too.
sure thing. So let's begin with those. The first and foremost, it all starts with conversations. So conversations initiated is the absolute first KPI. And the target there should be 25 a day, 5 days a week, 12 weeks in a quarter. That sets us at 1,500 per quarter. Conversations initiated. That means, hi, Sabina, I would love to speak to you about your portfolio. I would like to speak to you about your goals. I would like to speak to you about your next move, all the things and anything. But the whole point is that's a conversation initiated. It doesn't mean it was an appointment. Now we need from those conversations, we need to book an appointment. So sure, Sabina, I hear what you're saying. This is great. It's a great conversation. Ford script, family, occupation, recreation, dreams, whatever the case may be. But what does it actually mean? What do we need to move into? We need to move into an appointment. And what I would like, Sabina, is right now is not the appropriate time for me to, I don't have an hour this second, but I would like to dedicate at least an hour of our time where I can thoroughly understand what you're trying to accomplish so I can actually service you the best way that I can. And that's where we go into an appointment booked.
Awesome. Do you want to, it'll be really interesting. So when we go through the tracker, we'll explain to everybody how you develop your own targets. So they don't have to worry about that just yet. But to your point, I think if, this is literally, other than the actual leads you're doing to get these conversations, obviously, this is level one. And then we'll talk about appointments booked too in a second, but we've got some feedback from some of our folks here. I got from JB, I said, I didn't realize how inconsistent I was until I saw my numbers. Now that I've got a rhythm that actually works. So that's really strong feedback. I think that's probably going to be pretty typical of people that are.
I'm actually just reading those now. Hi, guys. For the first time, I know exactly how many conversations it takes me to book an appointment and how many appointments turn into clients. So funny enough, Jennifer, and to Julia as well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. But that's exactly where we're going. So conversations initiated needs to be tracked. Appointment booked needs to be tracked. Appointments held needs to be tracked. So not only did we have a conversation, did we book an appointment? Those are two different ticks. Did your consumer, did your clients, did your customer, did your person show up to the meeting?
Yeah.
And if they showed up to the meeting, what are we tracking next? The agreement. Was it signed? Do you have buyer representation? Do you have a listing agreement for the sellers? So that is where we're going from here. So we go from conversation to appointment to an actual appointment held, because now we know what our conversion is. When Jennifer says, now I know how many conversations it takes to book something or to convert something, that's the clarity Jennifer needs to be able to say, I can invest this much time into anything. If you don't know what your time is worth, what are you doing?
Right.
When you say, I am too busy right now, what are you saying no to? What are you committing to? If you're too busy because your time is valuable, I know that my time is worth $1,000 an hour, for example. So every time I say yes or no, that is the consequence. If I were to spend an hour making calls, what would I make? If I choose to go get a protein shake instead, how much does this protein shake cost me? Does it cost me $6 or does it cost me $1,006? That's what you'll be able to do. That's what you'll be able to understand is what is your time worth based on conversations initiated, to appointments booked, to appointments held, to agreements signed, to listings taken, to listings sold. So if we took 10, but we always sell 8 and 2 terminate or we lose, we know that we're batting 800.
Right.
Buyer sales. Every time we put somebody in the car, how many showings does it take for you to get to a buy? I know agents that drive people around for months. I can tell you that I close buyers in typically 3 to 4 showings. Why? Because I only show what I believe is best for my client. And I have the experience to do so. When somebody tells me their budget and tells me what they're looking for, I know how to find it.
Yeah.
I am a great agent. But if I'm showing 30, 40 properties, you have not qualified your client at all. They're not ready to buy. They don't even know what they want. Or more importantly, you don't know how to book showings that matter. This is where we need to be focused and understand. This is what this data will tell you. Remember that the 7 KPIs that I've talked about so far, there's only one left. And I'm going to repeat one more time. We go from conversation initiated to appointment booked, to appointment held, to an agreement signed, to listings taken, to listings sold. Buyer sales is number 7. Last but not least, when all else, nothing matters more than everything, because all of this leads into one thing: your database growing. Your database is the only product you actually have. You are the facilitator. We don't have anything to sell other than our service. So all of this noise, all of these conversations, appointments, paperwork, listings, buyers, they end up in that one place, the database. And for the last 6 months of this year and for the next 6 months coming up, all we're going to be talking about is how to convert that database from warm reach to cold reach to events to open houses. Everything has to go into the database, and your database growth is that final end game. So definition is net new tagged contacts in your CRM, where you met them, what was the preface of the meeting, and what can you do for them. And you should be adding nothing less than 5 to 10 contacts a day if you're looking to be a top producer.
Yeah.
You can add 1 person a day and still win. But top producers perform at a certain level. And you need to be meeting people. You need to be actively asking people for their contact and for their business. If you ever think of anything in real estate, I am your resource. You can tell people I am really great at what I do, and I would love to show you what that looks like.
Awesome. Awesome. We've got a few more comments. Simeon, do you want to have a quick peek here at the chat?
Yeah, for sure.
So we got, what was the last one here? Oh, this is awesome and true for everybody. I appreciate the honesty of this one. And this one is honestly embarrassing how many weeks passed without a single logged conversation. I was busy, but not actually productive.
And this is where this community matters. Chris Brown is not afraid to say the truth, because he's not the only person that weeks go by and didn't have a conversation. And if anybody thinks he's alone in it, give your head a shake. All of us. You go in ups and downs. You get distracted. You get diverted. You get all the different things. Chris Brown, thank you for your honest comment. Being busy and not productive is the death sentence in our business. If you're listening right now, you're not alone. All of us go through this exercise all the time. And I will tell you without a doubt, start measuring, because you're going to hold your own self accountable by measuring.
Yeah.
Every morning when you have to put in your numbers, or at the end of every night, when you put in your numbers, you are going to feel the way you feel about your day.
Yeah.
You're either going to be like, shit, I got a lot done today. Or shit, I got nothing done today.
Yeah, or nothing important, nothing critical anyway.
Either way, but growth only comes, whatever is measured and tracked actually happens. So that's all I got to say there. Amy,
Remember, Simeon, too, though, like one of the other things could be when the actual, I mean, frankly, it's a nice problem to have in a way, but once they do get busy and this is all kicking in and working, they may drop some of the lead gen activity, and you'll see then too that maybe you're spending time doing deals and doing offers and things like that, or driving people around, and you've lost your time to do lead gen. So
that's right.
that's just as important too, because then your pipeline dries up after a time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you want
So
to jump through the last two here?
yeah, I mean, Amy says that she's tracking every conversation. It's a game changer. Sorry, Martha's saying it's a game changer for her accountability partner, and they're using it together. Being able to compare notes and push each other gets results, of course. Also to mention, I've been blaming the market, but then I saw how few buyer appointments I actually booked my last quarter. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Julie, 100%. Amy, I used to panic when I wasn't closing. Now I understand my conversion math, so I know exactly the middle. Guys, so if Amy, Julia, Martha, Chris, if this is what you're doing, you will get the results that you want. Full stop. Full stop. It's a matter of which verticals you will choose to go after to get the results that you want. But having an account, like Martha is talking about my accountability partner and I, if you have an accountability partner, you're already at 90% further than anyone else. Why? Because most people don't. Most people do not give themselves enough credit when they're doing things right, and they fall off. But you are experiencing firsthand the results and the fruit of your labor, and this is why you're going to stick to it. Julia, understanding your conversion. So booking more buyer appointments does what? Leads to more buyers closing. So being aware of how few appointments you were actually booking. Now you don't. Now you go after it. You get into your database and you call. You get into cold calls and you call. You get into an open house and you log and you mine and you call. This is what it's all about. The first KPI is conversations initiated. That is the end all be all. No conversations, no business. Conversations start here, everything starts rolling from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to talk a little bit? So now we've gone through the 8 different KPIs that people need to track. We're going to go into the tracker itself in a minute, but do you want to talk about the how and when to pivot things? I mean, you're obviously showing a big pivot this quarter.
Well, I'm showing a big pivot because our market is an absolute nightmare right now. It's not an excuse. It's not this or that or the other. It's 75% less sales volume, less transactions. So I can make calls till I'm blue in the face. The market is the market. The point is there's still deals to be had. Right. And unless I make more calls till I'm blue in the face, I'm not going to get in the way of those transactions. So do I have to work 4 times harder to make the same or less? The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, 3 times harder. 75% harder. And if I don't do that, I cannot look at myself 3 months from now and expect the same result. Mm-hmm. So if I know that to be true, what do I have to do? I'm shifting business models. Me and my partner, effective July 2nd, which is Wednesday, are going to have 12 agents calling into my database. Why am I doing that? Because I can't hire 4 more inside salespeople. Because I have inside salespeople calling my database to get leads and conversations booked into my calendar. Well, now I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to book them straight into my agents. My agents are going to make the call, and those are going to be 50-50s. So what does this mean? This is a new shift. It's a new business plan. I'm going to get people who are incented of making 10 grand to make my phone calls. That I don't have to pay them up front, that I only pay them when they hit results. What do they have to gain from it? They didn't work to get those leads. my database. They get the benefit from it. But I would never be able to make those decisions if I didn't track everything that I track.
Right.
That's what I'm getting. This is how it works. Whether you're a solo agent, you have a small team, a medium team, or a large team. This is how it works.
Simeon, let me ask you something, because I think this is something that I initially thought of when I thought about how much the market has changed. I mean, it's really different than it was a few years ago. But it changes, and I think in two different ways. I look at it like you're talking about a key piece, which is activity level. Like it is how much are you doing it and how are you doing it for together. But I think about also how do you feel about looking at the market and looking at areas of the market that perhaps are more active at the moment? I'll give you an example. Maybe not the best, sort of maybe not the easiest thing to deal with, but there's perhaps more foreclosures on the rise, or maybe there is, maybe you should pivot to working, cottage country or resorts, or maybe work with more seniors because your demographics are changing. How do you feel about being more niche focused when things like this happen, or at least look at the parts of the market that are happening and working?
Well, I mean, paying attention to what works is certainly something to consider. If you enjoy working with seniors and you're in a town that's not growing in population and it's an older town, yeah, definitely take that vertical and take it all the way that you can. Get your, authorized working with seniors designation and market it and speak to it on your socials. If you're working in, in a mining town or whatever, like a nuclear plant town, there's so many niche markets that I know of just from around living here.
Right.
There's a city to the east of Toronto, Pickering, where it's one of the strongest markets in Canada. Why? Because of its proximity to parks, to highways, to a nuclear facility, which gives jobs. On the other side, there's plants for automobiles, etc. So wherever you go, look at those niches because, relocation of executives or whatever the case may be, there might be lots of niches that you can focus in on and build a brand on.
Absolutely. And remember, sometimes those niches change. You need to stay abreast of what's happening. We're seeing, not in all markets, for instance, but in a lot of markets in the States, I'm seeing the foreclosure numbers go up a lot. There's always going to be deals when things are changing. Regardless of what's happening in the marketplace, the one thing we teach everybody is things will always change. There will be people who have change in their life, whether it's good or bad. It's a marriage or a divorce. It's kids or a retirement. It's all that good stuff. And inevitably, obviously, some of that will affect housing. And then the rest of it is market dependent, right? So, and sometimes, frankly, they go together. So I just want to make sure everybody realizes that some of the pivots they need to look at are activity based, and some of them are maybe even changing, where you're focused completely. And then the other thing, of course, and that's something we go into every single week here, is at each of those levels, there are ways to do things different and better. So for instance, database growth is lead gen. We talk about lead gen in lots of different ways and how you can acquire new customers, or, are you converting from the appointment to the contract? Maybe you've got issues there. This is all things that this will absolutely illuminate as you track everything.
Yeah. And we do supply. So like everything that I'm speaking of right now, like my lesson plan for today is something that you can all see. These are the exact points that you need to focus in on. So when I say listing sold, how many did you firm up? How long did it take? Why did, you can hone in on each one with more KPIs. Meaning if you're becoming a good listing agent, you need to know how many days on market on average it takes for you to sell a home. You need to know how much you spent on staging. You need to know if the staging that you spent money on was actually effective. Are the listings that you're selling that are not staged selling in the same amount of time? Because you're just burning $5,000 then.
Right.
But if staging takes it from 4 or 6 weeks to 2 weeks, that's a big value proposition to be able to tell the market that my staging is so effective that I sell homes, in 50% of the time everyone else does.
Right.
That will get you more business. But you need to measure it to know. How much money do you spend? How outbound do you go? There's a million different things you can track. You will know on your business what you should track. And if you don't, ask the questions. If you're a buyer agent, what should you be tracking? How many homes you need to show before you close something? The best times to show something. You should be measuring how your client feels when you take them out at 8 o'clock versus 6 o'clock. Because at 6 o'clock, there's rush hour traffic, and that pisses people off. You should never be showing homes to people that are pissed off at anything, because you're wasting your time. They're not in the mindset to buy a home. End users are emotional. They're romantics. They need to fall in love with something. You're not going to fall in love with anything when you're angry. So tracking when you close matters. If you've been in this game long enough, you know exactly when to show homes. You know exactly how to show them. I don't meet my buyers there. I pick them up. Why? Because I can slow cook them on the way to the showing. Chat, see where their mindset is at. See if they're angry. See if they're happy. See if they're excited. Because if they're not in the right frame of mind, I'll take them for coffee and take them back home.
Are we allowed to stop for a cocktail as long as you're not the one driving?
That's right.
So, and guys, we're going to go. I want to just give you, but in case anybody is jumping off the call early, or actually it's technically on time, the tracker is available at gohive.info/qtrack. We give you this link every single week, also in your emails. And of course, I just showed you where to find it in the community. So please, please, please don't forget to get that. But in the meantime, I think before we jump into the actually reviewing the tracker itself, Simeon, do you have a minute to go over some of the questions we got?
I do indeed.
Okay. So these are ones we had asked last week for the gang that was on the call to send us some questions in advance that relate to either tracking or KPIs or whatever. So I pulled out 9 of them. We don't have to go through all of them if we don't have time, but
No problem.
one of them was, what do top producers do when they see a dip in one of these KPIs mid-quarter? How do I know when I should pivot versus push harder on a strategy that isn't producing yet? That's a really interesting question.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to commit to any new effort, in my opinion, minimum 90 days. If you see that you're beating a dead horse, don't be silly and keep pushing. There has to be a glimmer of hope. There has to be some type of success metric that you can see. So if you're telling me that something's not working, should I keep going? If it's dead in the water, don't keep going.
Right.
Do adjust your sales mid-quarter. But if you're going to tell me that you're door knocking, you can't door knock twice and think you're going to work. That's a commitment. That's a year minimum. Geofarming that we're talking about next week, minimum a year, 2 years. Nobody owes you anything. You can't just show up and people will just throw themselves at you. You have to provide value. They have to see you stick it through. They have to get sick of seeing your name. That is the name of the game. Omnipresence. So to directly to the question once again, if you're doing something and it's dead, absolutely pivot. If you think it's so complicated, let's talk it out. Call me. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, guys, bring those are the questions you want to bring to any of the calls, but also remember, when we go through these different tactics, like we just talked about open houses and door knocking and made it very clear how long it should take, how often you need to do it, what's the frequency, time in between, all that stuff. We talked about all of that. So you also have our sessions. You can go back to the open house session and watch that one. It's only 30 minutes, so that's another way that you can get some of these answered, because the answer is exactly what Simeon said. It's not always going to be the same, depending on what the tactic actually is.
Right.
So, that's important to know too. You already answered this, I believe, but I'm going to ask the question one more time because I think it is absolutely critical. But what's the single KPI that's probably costing me the most opportunity right now if I ignore it or I guess I'm adding this myself, but if I ignore it or don't give it enough attention.
Calls made, appointments booked.
Yeah.
It,
So
it's it is
conversations.
the beginning and the end. That's it.
Yeah.
If you were to measure one thing and one thing only,
Hmm.
is absolutely how many conversations you're having, how many appointments are you booking.
Yeah.
Everything else comes from there. It's the most
Okay.
simple, it's the most primitive, it's the most all the things, but people fail to understand how simple real estate really is because we can make it as complicated as you want.
Sure.
But more conversation leads to more business, full stop.
Which, by the way, is true for pretty much every business. So,
So
the good news is,
nothing changes, but that's what it is.
yeah, and the good news is most people that get into real estate in the first place are good with people. They're good at having conversations already. I have to tell you, I see lots of people who start businesses that are crappy at that. So, it's awesome that realtors are often already good at this key step. They're happy to make the time and meet new people and all that good stuff.
Yes.
So, another question was, we talked about this a little bit, but this is a little bit different approach. So, should they actually factor in market slowdowns and seasonality into their KPIs? In other words, do you reduce them ever, or are you just pivoting and shifting
No,
tactics?
these are your goals. You don't need to reduce them or make them higher. Make them yours.
Yeah,
I said I need to add 10 people a day. Most people don't add 10 people in a month.
right.
They're your goals to hit. They're your key performance indicators. That's it. You have nobody to impress. You have nobody to lie to. You have nobody for anything. It's
Yeah.
you versus you. Make them what they need to be for you to be happy. If you love what you do it. If you don't love what you do, don't. Remember that, like, you can make this existential at any time. We're doing a job, like I am working right now, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, is having this conversation. What is the KPI for this for me? My KPI is to do this for 52 weeks to see how many lives I can change by how many people are affected and the feedback that they get.
Hmm.
On July 6th, I'm being booked to speak at a brokerage. Why? What is my KPI on that? I want to be able to look at the crowd. Did I get referred after that? What did I do to deserve that? How can I do it more? So I look at different things that I can measure my success at whatever I choose to do. So for everybody wondering, lower it, seasonality, this, that, the other, none of it. Set your targets. I want to have 10 conversations a day, 5 conversations a day, but measure it. Because once you measure it, you'll know what happened as a result of it. And then when you say, the last year I made 100 grand, I want to make 200 grand. Well, you know exactly what you need to do. Double your effort precisely. And you will get exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You'll know how to dial in instantly because you'll know what converts and when. If I have 10 conversations, I book 3 appointments. Out of my 3 appointments, 2 go into agency, whether it's listing or buying, and 1 will convert. So 10 conversation equals 1 deal. Need I say more? And that could be 20 conversations for 1 deal.
Right.
Depends on you. You will get your own metrics. Could be 30 conversations for 1 deal. So what? Now you know, based on your own production, what you need to do and exactly how much money you will make. And if you're not happy with it, do something else because you will know exactly the numbers and the science behind your career and your success.
Yeah. I think
I think I've had enough for a Monday.
I think you've given them a lot. I do have
I
one
hope
last
so.
question that we'll
Sure,
finish with
of
Simeon,
course.
and then I'm going to show them the tracker. So this is an interesting question that Karen sent because I think it's something that we'll also obviously cover week to week. But if I don't know if you have a very specific answer to this or it's just you have to start digging. But she says, when my numbers look fine, but growth has stalled, where should I start digging?
Sorry, repeat it.
When my numbers look fine, so she's doing the activities,
Hmm?
but the growth has still stalled. where should I start digging? Or maybe the question is, where should I start digging first? Probably.
If we're talking about growth has stalled, are we talking about database growth? And if that's
It was a generic question, but I'm guessing it's more results, like dollars, like deals. Again, I could be wrong, but that's it. She didn't say specifically.
well, let's do it both ways. So if we're talking about your numbers are okay, but your growth has stalled, that means you're doing the same thing but expecting a different result. Your numbers are okay, but your growth has stalled. Well, your numbers are not okay. You're making a living and you're noticing no growth, and that's what you're talking about. That's not good enough. It's simply not good enough. If you have noticed that your growth is not happening, you need to shift immediately and pay attention to what is going to fuel your growth. It could be events, it could be advertising, it could be engaging on social media. I'm not talking about spending money. I'm talking about engaging, going into people's comments and being noticed. You need to do what you need to do. If we're talking about database growth, again, start throwing events, inviting the neighborhood into whatever the case may be. Take action. If you notice that you're not growing, that means you're paying attention, and either you don't care or you care. And if you care, action solves everything.
There's your answer. There's your answer. All right, awesome. I'm going to share quick, and this will be all of a couple minutes here, team. So I want to make sure everybody sees this and knows how it works. Now, when you click the link to the tracker, all you're going to see is that it's offering for you to make a copy of the one that we're sending you, which is what you want to do. And then you're in Google Sheets. So you're going to see something on the left-hand side that will say copy of Q Planner Tracker. That means that this is now your copy. You can do whatever you want. If for some reason something messes up down the road and you need a fresh version, just go back to that original link and it'll download another copy. So you can do that forever if you want. And here's basically what you want to look for. There's really two key tabs. The first one is instructions. We'll give you a little bit of background, but what you want to look at is this. So in the planner section, you have two choices. You can deal with this and make a new version of this every quarter, or you can just copy and paste these tabs if you'd rather do it that way. It's up to you. And then you have your full year in one document if you wish, but let me just show you most importantly, what you need to do. First of all, anything that's highlighted in yellow are the only fields that you want to put in your own information. This is not, anything in white is automatically calculating, so you don't want to mess with those. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to say, answer questions like, what is your quarterly net income goal? So is it 65,000 a quarter? Is it 50,000 a quarter? Is it 100,000 or 500,000? That's the number you're going to start with. Then you're going to go through all the rest of these yellow questions only. So approximately what's your business expense percentage? So is it costing you 20%, 5%, 50%? You want your expenses in there. You want to put your average home sale price. And what's great about the way that the sheet works is as you start tracking, you're going to see what your actual average home sale price is, so that the next quarter, you can change that number to what you're actually selling, which is really helpful. Then you're going to go through the rest of these. So average gross compensation at your end. If you're getting paid fees instead of percentages, then you'll have to do a little bit of personal calculation. We can't make this set up perfectly for everybody, so be sure to do that. And then obviously, how much are you keeping versus your broker, et cetera? Because really what you're trying to do is you're trying to get down to your net. And then the last part is these 5 for now. If you haven't already been tracking, you're going to have to put in here what your goals are, or at least what you think you're doing, whichever way you want to go. So for instance, what is your leads to conversations conversion rate? Is it 50%, 30%? You probably have a pretty good idea already. And you want to go through those 5. So everything in yellow, that's what you're going to do first. Then you're going to look at your outputs. So now you're going to see, okay, so expenses, now we're looking at a number per quarter, 13,000. Required gross income, we know we need to make 78,000. No, that's gross, remember? And then it's average net compensation per deal. That's your average, $17,000, $18,000. How many closings do I need per quarter? 4. How many agreements signed? 9. And these are all based on your conversion rates. So if your conversion rates change, these numbers will automatically change. So if you're off by a lot, like if you think you're converting 75% and you're really converting 35, not only does it change that number, but it's going to change also how many leads you need, because you need to start with bigger numbers, have more conversations, whatever it is, something's going to change above that as well. So all of this is white, so it will automatically calculate. And then this last part is your weekly activity plan targets. Some of these make sense, some of them don't. Like, 0.3 closings per week sounds wonky, but obviously over a quarter that makes more sense because we know that we needed to do 4. But we needed to do weekly in order for the tracker to work weekly. So these are all your weekly numbers. So how many do I need? Closings per week, 0.3. Agreements signed per week, 0.7. So 1, let's say. Appointments held per week, 1.3, etc. What's really exciting about this is the numbers are not nearly as crazy as you think. So to get to that gross up here, remember this person wanted 65,000 quarterly net income. That's a decent annual income. You want that? Well, look at how reasonable these numbers are weekly. So what's awesome about this is you can look at this and go, oh, that's nowhere near as crazy as I thought it was, assuming your conversion rates are correct. So that's a good start. That's the first page. So you can spend a lot of time playing with this and figuring yourself out. And then the weekly tracker looks like this. And I already filled in a bunch of it so you can see what somebody's might look like. So again, everything white automatically calculates, and everything that is yellow, you put in yourself. So here's, for instance, let's say the week of June 30th, 50 leads, 10 conversations. Now, this is what you actually did. 4 appointments booked, 4 appointments held, agreements signed, 2 closings that week, 2. Now, remember, those closings could be from meetings you had a month ago, right? Or a listing that you got a month ago. So they won't necessarily correlate. This is just what happened in that particular week. But what's awesome about looking at this over 90 days is you're going to start seeing what your averages are. And we go back to matching that to what our goals were. So based on the numbers, and I did the whole quarter going back to April. So this is the 13 weeks of this past quarter. If you now look at this, you see this, the total. So now we see the total leads for that quarter was 182. All this is adding up this row. And then each of these just add up each of these individual rows. So 182 leads, conversions, 69. And now we start seeing our conversion rates. So that means that was a 38% conversion rate. You had 182 leads, conversations were 69, so your conversion rate was 38%. And the next one, appointments booked, from that 69, you went from 69 conversations to 30 appointments. So that means 43% conversion rate. This is the information that you're going to need to keep updating quarter by quarter by quarter. And this is all happening automatically. You also had your weekly goal. This is simply pulling from the previous page. So leads per week, 11.9. You'll go back to the planner, and we had leads per week, 11.9. That's how many we said we needed to hit our numbers. So now, 11.9 leads per week. How many did you actually do? 14 on average. So that means you did 2.1 more than you targeted or set your goal at. That's how this works for every single metric. So all your KPIs are listed here, all the way down to closings. So you can see what your true conversion rates are. And then the second section here does similar information, but it's all the revenue information lines. So value of real estate sold. You sold, all those deals you closed, 4.4 million. So if that's the case, then over 13 weeks, we said we needed to do 266,000. That came from the previous per week. So what's your goal results? You're ahead by $78,000. That's how all of this works. I didn't do the gross and net commission pieces, but you're welcome to if you want. But more importantly, you also can do things like, if you want to get really specific, you can put your weekly expenses in here, or you can just amortize your quarter I did that here. I put $1,000 in every week. And then finally, total net, including expenses. This is your total net numbers. So now this is where you want it to be net, and you are ahead of your goal by $1,700. So that's awesome. Now keep in mind, this is me guesstimating what a sort of typical agent might do. But here you also get down to some additional KPIs that you really want to think about tracking as well. If you do this every week, it's not as onerous as it seems. So these second 2 or 3 parts, these other 2 or 3 parts, I think would be good to really think about doing too. So here you've got your lead source tracker. If you don't know where your leads are coming from and what's working for you, then obviously that makes that segment of your prospecting extremely difficult. So what we suggest is, where are they coming from? These are some obvious ones. If you want to change that to things that you're doing differently, then please do. But you're saying, okay, so from past clients or your sphere, how many leads did you get? How many of those became clients? And how many of those became deals? Did you learn anything? Notes and insights. And you can do that for each one. Maybe you only have 2. That's fine. There's another section here. Some agents have more than one income stream. Are you getting property management fees? Are you getting home staging fees? Are you a notary? What is it that you're doing? Maybe you can put in some other income. And then the very last part is personal reflection. And I know, Simeon, this is a big part of your Sunday nights.
For sure.
Yeah. So what's your biggest win of the week? What was your hardest challenge of the week? What do I need to double down on? And what do I need to eliminate or delegate? And this is
your true check-in. Those thoughts is what drives the entire week and your entire purpose.
Yeah.
If you don't have them often, they will be overlooked and you will feel like crap. You'll feel lost, that you feel you lost your bearings. Those are huge, and they should be a part of every single week, bare minimum.
Yeah, and you want to just keep stacking these. So you just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, and you're going to have 1 million of these, which is awesome. And then at the end of the quarter, you go back and figure it out. And we want you to bring your hardest challenge of the week to these calls. We'll help guide you through those the best we can, obviously, but we also want to hear what's working and what you're winning on as well. So I know that was just a quick overview, but Simeon, do you think that was enough to give everybody enough information to use this effectively?
I think it's more than enough. Get started. But more importantly, if you do anything, give thought to what you need to track for yourself. Me saying this, that, or the other does nothing if you don't actually put it into effect.
Sure.
So bare minimum, track how many calls you're making a day. Conversations initiated lead to appointments. Very, very simple. Track it, dedicate and time block it. Prospecting should be done every day. That is our business. And when I say every day to the maximum, I'm talking to someone who wants to be a top producer. Anything you do less is less than, and it's just fine. But if you want to be top 1%, if you want to be top 10 of top 1%, what does it take to get there? And that's more. Not for everyone, but whoever chooses it, just know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And this is where all this comes in. So I hope everybody gets good value from it and gets inspired to smash Q3 just knock it out of the park.
I think that's the perfect way to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Simeon. Don't forget, guys, this is available for you as a recording, so you can absolutely.
Happy Independence Day to all my friends south of the border, and happy Canada Day to all those in the Great White North.
Thanks, Simeon. Have a great week, everybody. Take care. Bye.